everyone, I've got a very special battle for you today. This one is between Kislev and Dark Elves. This battle was fought in our Saturday 12 o'clock Long War. And this battle is a great example of the skirmishing phase. You see, in a lot of Total War battles, the battle phases tend to be rather fluid. Well, mostly because one side just charges in and there is not much time to skirmish. But that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly normal. You know, good old YOLO mid-rush. You don't want your opponent skirmish. But what happens if both sides are skirmisher heavy? So in this case, both sides must do this dance where they all go back and forth, take a few pot shots at each other, and fight like it is World War I, sometimes. So that's what we're going to see today. This is a pretty long battle, at least compared to the usual, mostly because of that skirmishing phase that I want to show you guys. But the more importantly is we see a terrific envelopment from Kislev, who is going to be using their advantage, their infantry advantage, to close in the Dark Elves. And we will see Dark Elves. I'm going to be playing as Dark Elves. I'm their cavalry commander, and I will be in charge of the left flank after the envelopment. So this is another really cool thing that you do not see outside of the Long Wars, where you've got your lieutenants who are commanding individual flanks, so you can focus your attention on a specific flank and everybody plays to their strengths. So as you can see, we've got both armies that have all of their troops. They've got about 40 units on each side, and this is just an untenable amount of units to micro effectively. What we have here is that division of labor. As you can see, there are 6 players. So both sides have got 3 players to manage their flanks. So there is a way you can divide these numbers. You can do it by flank, you can do it by troop type. Here I currently have it by troop type, where I have the cavalry, because we are just trying to catch any kind of cavalry skirmish going on against them. So now that our chariots have came in, these chariots in particular have long-range attacks. So because of that, we now have a skirmisher unit. Let's pull those other cavalry back, and we are going to be skirmishing for quite a bit. And the idea behind skirmishing is, you're trying to take any opportunity. I am going to speed up this section. So this part I'm speeding up because, to be honest, this is going to be about 20 minutes of us just trying to get a little bit of damage on each other. But I want to show you the idea behind skirmishing and how you should be choosing your targets. As you just saw, I saw an out-of-position character with chariots. Now I know chariots have got armor piercing, anti-large, and very high damage. This makes them ideal for sniping single entities, especially if they are large. But your goal in skirmishing phase is to catch everything that is out of position, and if everything is in position, you are trying to bait the enemy into, well, letting you take a shot, as well as sometimes you will have these cases where you just need to trade. Fundamental idea is you're always trying to trade positively. When you have superior range, you can stay at that range and keep shooting. So in most games this would be looked down upon, but this is how real battles are fought. This part is the great skill expression. This is how you separate wheat from chaff. Oh, we've got Kislev that just had snuck in a Streltsy unit from the woods and ambushed my chariots, did about quarter of its health and damage. That was a fantastic move on the Kislev side. They are using that vision in order to get closer to the enemy and catch them out of position. So now that they're a little bit overextended, we are taking a couple of shots on the edge of those woods. One thing you always need to keep in mind is that trees block shots. So we see that unit leaving the fire. Now here you will see that those Streltsy are not firing at my chariots. Why is that? Because if you pay attention, you see that there's a tiny, tiny hill that's right in the middle that is blocking the view of my chariots. We know that Streltsy are a gun unit, which means they need to have direct line of sight in order to fire. While chariots, they have bows and arrows, which means they can shoot over. This is one of the ways you can take advantage of the terrain to do a bit of extra damage. So we are hopping between left and right flanks. We see a bait from Kislev. They are trying to bait out the ammunition of the skirmisher units, because if you don't have the skirmisher advantage during the skirmishing phase, one thing you can do is move sideways just as the arrows are in flight in order to dodge them. This will waste your opponent's ammunition and will prevent them from firing at a better target. So right now we are taking a few shots at the enemy. Oh, we see Mother Ostankia that is out of position, that is way too far ahead. So here we are consolidating our chariots because we kind of lost the right flank. You saw the Kislev infantry closing us in. So instead we are consolidating and are trying to take our pot shots on the left flank. So until those flanks are closed, we are trying to deal as much damage as possible. So a little in and out, in and out. We are losing vision, so we can't really move in there. So we know our opponents are utilizing the woods to sneak in. We want to find out which woods are occupied and which ones are not, because we can do the same trick on them as long as they do not have the superiority within those woods. So now you can see me scouting over there. I see Ostankia is out of position again, coming in close. Oh, and they close back in, close their ranks to prevent us from getting shots at Mother Ostankia. Mother Ostankia already lost 25% of her health, and she is an integral part of our enemy's battle plan. So us doing a little bit of damage on her is going to add up fairly quickly, and especially towards the later parts of the battle. We see that Ice Witch that is casting a few spells, a Snow Leopard. Now, Snow Leopard is faster than our chariot, so what we have to do is we gotta divide that, move it out of position. And now our opponent has realized, okay, these guys have got range superiority. We are not going to win this fight by skirmishing. So they are finally closing in on the left flank as well. I'm pulling back all of my cavalry, and this is the signal that the skirmishing phase is about to come to a close. At this point, you can take some really good shots, like on that Mother Ostankia, bam, 50% health gone. Now, if they want to keep Ostankia in the war, they will have to be very conservative with her, which is something you really don't want to do with her spells, because a lot of her spells are fairly close range. So you need that margin of error in order to get a lot of value. Now we're gonna see the final positioning before the engagement. I really sped this one up because there is pretty much nothing happening besides units trying to get in position. So for Kislev, this is just closing in ranks, coordinating between the different commanders. So you can see that their right flank, which is our left flank, is a little bit ahead, while our right flank is a little bit behind. So now I'm using my chariots to set that distance, hopefully get a few shots and get some vision to see when we should engage. Taking advantage of that fact, our leader Cat gives us the order to charge in because the left flank is out of position. They are way too far. And so I took my cavalry and charged in. I got countercharged by their cavalry, but I've got 4 units of cavalry, so we have managed to flank them and hit their flanks right in there. So because we are also attacking in the middle, we inevitably get shot by their middle front. Kislev being Kislev, all of their units are hybrid infantry, meaning they all have got skirmisher attacks in addition. So now what is happening is our cavalry is finishing up the left flank. In the middle ground, we are exchanging some shots. We've got a pit of shades that has went down. Hopefully that has done a lot of damage for us to be able to shoot out. So now our main units, shades, which are the backbone of all Dark Elf armies, and if it isn't in yours, it probably should be. And we are getting the reserves supporting the flank that is falling. But that is simply not enough. We've got Mother Ostanka and the casters right there, meaning if we can just tie them up, we might be able to finish it off. And because we have done so well in our skirmishing phase with those chariots, we now have a chance to take out that Ice Witch and Mother Ostanka in one fell swoop. Otherwise, their reserves would have been a significant obstacle to our victory. So now you see me, I'm trying to avoid blobbing over there as much as I can and try to get some flanks for the reserves that are coming in my way. Fortunately, they are running out of the reserves that can reinforce that flank. Should that flank fall, I should be able to pull out of the forest and into the middle ground and roll the enemy army like carpet. So now we see a kind of an emotional blob, if you will, where I'm trying to bog down that Ice Witch so that she does not come back for the next battle. We got Mother Ostanka that is currently trying to escape from that falling left flank. And when you are playing with other players, it is very important that you communicate and tell the other players what's happening on your flank, because if you don't, well, they might reinforce your side of the flank, or you might just be missing some open units. Like we just saw, I had an idle unit standing behind, and it just called out the ogres that were standing idle behind our lines. If those ogres acted before I did, they could have done significant damage to our back lines. So now we are just wrapping up. We took control of that forest on the left, and now we are positioning to attack the middle. Since we still have got some ammunition and we are kind of low on health, we are trying to be conservative. So now we are engaging those Streltsy. We see a pull through. This is something that you gotta remember with cavalry. You have to keep giving that attack order so that it pulls through into your target. Now we've got another Spirit Leech against Mother Ostanka. Mother Ostanka is at 400 health. Just a couple more shots and she is going down. She's already out of morale. I see by our blood getting triggered, so after that expires, she will be out of the battlefield, but we're trying to get her out of commission for next 5 turns. So let's see if we manage to pull that off. Looks like the enemy's lord is trying to stop us and zone us out, but we see the chariots being a necessary sacrifice. We still continue to pull forward. Now the cavalry is taking position. Our units have been exchanging fire in the middle, having some melee, but that bought us enough time to flank the enemy and perform this enveloping maneuver that will force the enemy out of the battlefield. Our right flank has fallen, the flank where we didn't have the cavalry support. But we are currently contested in the middle. We're just trying to get that shot on that Ostanka. It is okay, she has just came back. And our chariots are coming in, and shot, and bam! Ostanka goes down. Now it is time to wrap up the rest of the battle. The death of the general is causing a morale shock through the enemy troops. And now their front lines are wavering. The left flank, any reinforcement they had sent on the left flank has fallen. The middle flank is falling, and the right flank has won with such a little margin that we should be able to finish them off. Of course, we have taken some damage, but we can still fight and finish this battle without taking any card losses. since there is, replenishment between turns, as long as you do not lose the card, you do not have to recruit a new one. So you should chase down your enemy's units until their model number is under 10% of their original value. Our right flank is not doing well, and the Kislev ice worms are coming in. They are anti-large, very, very powerful single entity monsters, which are very powerful against infantry. So what we're doing is we're getting the hell out of there with our chariots, since chariots are going to be useless against those things. What is going to be useful is shades with their armor-piercing arrows? Bolts? I don't think the game specifies that, because they don't really fly straight, so I guess they're sort of arrows? See, what they're doing is they're sending them one by one. That's one thing you never want to do with your single entity monsters, because they are just going to get shot at. On our side. So Kislev, what they need to do now is regroup, and instead they are sending their dragons one by one, letting us do a lot of damage to them without getting anything in return, because those drakes don't have a ranged attack. So now we have a bit of skirmishing left with the little bit of ammunition that those chariots have left. While they don't have ammunition, they can still do terrific damage against those Streltsy. Now this was a bit of a gambit. I was hoping that they would not be controlling those Streltsy. I was wrong. So while we do manage to get a melee engagement, we will see how well that one goes. And from my tone you can tell it did not go very well. So Kislev has realized, well, I should not be throwing away those ice drakes, and I should instead play with them conservatively, and that's what they're doing. They are using the woods to block the shots of the shades, while the rest of their army regroups, but they are just not regrouping, allowing us to divide and conquer the rest of their army. So let's see what happens and see if we go back to a skirmishing phase, or if Kislev is going to be pulling out. Regardless, to me, this battle is mostly decided. The only big threat right now is those drakes and those generals. I see one hero, they have 3 casts of healing, which could be fairly effective when you've got single entity monsters. Now, will that be enough? Guess we are about to find out. Regardless, I'm gonna speed up this phase so we can see if Kislev manages to regroup and counterattack. So now that we have sped up, we see that Streltsy are pushing back our shades. We need to play very conservatively here because the Kislev reinforcements is coming in, and because Kislev could not utilize those woods, they are losing those Streltsy with that intense shade fire. And because they are so uncoordinated, bam, cavalry comes in and rolls in the rest of them. The Streltsy are coming out from the woods, but we have enough cavalry to stop them dead in their tracks. While that is happening, they have attacked with the frostworms, but because the armies are so uncoordinated, those drakes were not able to stop those shades from firing. When you're fighting against Dark Elves, you should always, your goal needs to be occupying those range units. And the fact that they have got good melee stats on them is really the strength of those shades and why they form the backbone of multiplayer Dark Elf armies. So now, with that group broken, with those drakes separated, the battle is pretty much over. We are just wrapping things up and trying to chase the runaways. Well, thanks for joining me, and if you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I'll see you next time.